These Hong Kong security laws look a fascinating insight into how they're going to be rolled out, and a pretty scary one, I guess. We're seeing the state apparatus set up in Hong Kong for the first time in pretty nice surroundings too.
That's true. Actually, I think they set up in a 33-story luxury hotel called the Metro Park Causeway. Just for fun this morning, I checked hotels.com, and apparently they are completely booked. So it looks like they have the entire building, Tom, but that's what they did. They moved right into Hong Kong, and just this week on Wednesday, in a ceremony that wasn't even publicized, nor was it allowed to be, they set up barriers, raised the Chinese flag, played the Chinese national anthem, and I believe allowed reporters to take photos of the door once the ceremony was complete. But the Chinese mainland national security apparatus has officially arrived in Hong Kong.
I mean, this is it's a pretty momentous moment and a pretty sad one too, isn't it? We're going to see China being able to essentially, with the breadth of these laws, arrest anyone they see as an enemy of the Chinese government in Hong Kong, and they can be shipped off to China. That's
right. That's right. So there's four main reasons why anybody in Hong Kong that breaks these national security laws could be imprisoned for a life sentence. So they're definitely trying to remove any motivation and cause a deterrent to anybody that would continue to try to protest against the Chinese government's heavy-handed approach to what is supposed to be a two systems, one country approach through 2047. So China's clearly in violation of that agreement. You're seeing international responses, of course, with the UK trying to provide a path of citizenship to Hong Kongers in the UK, as well as you saw Prime Minister Morrison's announcement about removing an extradition agreement with Hong Kong, as well as possibly extending visas for Hong Kongers in Australia.
And it's interesting, I mean, you mentioned the US, UK, Canada actions as well. As much as the Chinese Communist Party takes umbrage if a whole host of countries act, it's hard to punish all of them.
That's right. And just a couple of quick points on this is, well, one is that, yes, China certainly takes a reputational damage when a whole lot of people want to leave Hong Kong, at this point, and they might take some economic damage if a lot of their businessmen leave and maybe some of their businesses leave. But one thing we talk about is always pretending you're an advisor in the other country. And what would you say? And I'm sure there's an advisor talking to President Xi and saying, well, if we have hundreds, maybe even thousands or millions in the UK case of people that are anti-China leaving Hong Kong, is that such a bad thing, right? This isn't to take away from the nobility of offering visas and offering people to leave Hong Kong in the current state. But, it could be a problem that other countries are helping China solve by actually removing people that don't want to be part of China from the country.
It's a good point. It doesn't mean you should deny them that opportunity, but it is a good point. We're seeing the death or the maiming, if you like, of a lot of international treaties and organisations. The Open Skies Treaty, the latest one, so the US going to leave it. This is essentially about transparency on arms control.
Right, signed in 1992. A lot of people don't know about this agreement. The countries, including Russia, the US, and most European countries, are actually allowed to inspect one another's aircraft, and they limit where the type of technology and photographs that are allowed to be taken, the resolution, et cetera, and to fully inspect one another's reconnaissance aircraft. And that's been going on since 1992. The U.S. pulled out, stating that Russia was not in compliance with the treaty this past year, as they have with many. And of course, that's up for debate. There's some truth to it. But the question is whether pulling out of the treaty unilaterally is the best case, for the future. Right now, the Open Skies Treaty members met this week, and the future of the treaty is uncertain, just like all the current arms control treaties, which we've talked about before.
Yeah, and similarly, the fate of these international organisations, the WTO and the WHO, some emotional scenes from the head of the WHO around wanting countries to still stay in but also be transparent about COVID-19. What do you think was behind the emotion? Are we talking about frustration with China, with the US? What do you think?
Well, the fundamental of an international organization is that it's only as effective as its member states push for it to be and allow it to be. So it's one thing for a country to try to help build it and then to criticize it having problems. I mean, the only solutions can come from its actual members. So that's the emotion is right now is the future of even a global cooperation on health or on trade itself the current trend. The emotion is about whether or not countries are going to withdraw to take unilateral action instead of actually supporting multilateral institutions. And right now, that's in doubt more so than it has in the last several decades.